It's game time. Brother Cluckers has you covered. Check out the Custom Football Feeding Frenzy for $5 deal. 25 fried chicken tenders, 2 jumbo sides, and 1 gallon of sweet or unsweetened tea for only $39.99. Special only valid via online ordering. Just visit brother-cluckers.com to place your order and enjoy the games. Brother Cluckers, located in front of the Food Line Shopping Center at 1547 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Brother Cluckers.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Kuhn-Godfrey.
Hi, I'm Deanna Kaplan.
Hi, I am Richard Watts.
The common sense choice for Winston-Salem Forsyth County School Board.
It would be our honor to serve you.
Make your voice heard by voting for Deanna,
Richard,
Sabrina,
and Common Sense. We need your support.
Early voting starts October 20th, paid for by Sabrina Kuhn-Godfrey for BOE, Deanna Kaplan for School Board, Richard Watts at Large School Board.
Welcome to the Triad's best kept secret, Tucker's Grill, located on the corner of Highway 66 and High Point Road at 4110 North Main Street in High Point. Open 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Voted some of the best burgers in the Triad, Tucker's Grill also offers breakfast plates, breakfast sandwiches, hot dogs, lunch sandwiches, and homemade soup during the winter months. Visit Tucker's Grill for lunch today, 4110 North Main Street in High Point.
You are locked into Tobacco Road Sports Radio, your home for Triad Sports.
and you know this, man.
Like to have everybody's attention for a moment.
There's a stat. I don't like bringing up stats, but there's one stat about the Panthers.
He's in the world is James Harden better scorer than Michael Jordan?
No, he's more creative in that.
Traveling is not creative, Brandon.
You know, no matter what the score is, and they've said it themselves, whether they're up 10, down 20, whatever, they know they can turn it on whenever.
Why did you have to bring up the Cowboys in this conversation?
Lived in Texas for 2 years and just could not stand to watch Cowboys football.
All right, listen up.
Welcome to The Rundown. Here's Desmond Johnson.
And welcome into a beautiful Saturday morning here across the Triad. You are locked and loaded into the Rundown. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, live on WWBG 1470 AM every Saturday morning, and of course on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. You can watch the Rundown every Saturday morning on YouTube, Facebook, watch LinkedIn, and on Twitter at Tobacco Radio. Loaded first hour. Hot Rod Funderburk back in the house. It must be football season. Brett Wiseman from The Score here with us today. From WFMY News 2, Jaelen Gilkey, and the host of Where Are They Now? Triad All-Stars, and from Learfield Sports, Ryan Smith, joining us here in the first hour. Loaded first hour. We're still doing our divisional previews for the NFL. NFC and AFC South. We'll hit the NFC South up here in the first hour. Patriots and Panthers played last night. We had high school football that kicked off over Thursday and Friday over the past couple days in the Triad. And an exclusive interview with North Carolina A&T head coach Sam Washington in hour number 2 as the Aggies get ready to prepare for the Aggie Eagle Classic down in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium September the 3rd to kick that off. So huge deal for that huge rivalry there. And the Aggies picked to actually win the Big South this season after finishing 3rd last year. Coach Washington and those boys, they are not used to finishing anywhere lower than 1st. So we'll check out the Aggies later on this season. And, of course, a high school football recap from all the stuff from last night. The first thing I wanted to start off with while I got the 4 of you guys in here, when I got home from doing our game last night, me and Rod did East Forsyth versus Northwest Guilford in Kernersville last night. And I got home and I found the YouTube highlight tape of the Panthers-Patriots preseason game because it came on at 7 o'clock, the same time we were on. So I couldn't watch it in real time. And being a co-host, believe in the Carolina Panthers podcast, I kind of need to know what happened in the game. And I realized while I was watching it, because P.J. Walker started, P.J. Walker did first quarter and third quarter. Matt Corral came in and played second quarter and fourth quarter. Sam Darnold didn't play at all. Baker Mayfield didn't play at all. We kind of all are fully expecting the Panthers to announce Baker Mayfield's going to be the starter on Monday based off what Matt Rule was saying. But as I was watching the highlights, and they were all of about maybe 6 minutes long, I got to a point in that 6-minute highlight where I was like, why are we even doing preseason? Like, no other sport does preseason like this. Why do we have it? And, like, I'm trying to figure out what would be the logical way for the NFL to do away with preseason? Because I don't know if they ever would, because the argument's always been, well, the owners like the money. The owners want that extra money. They can't get it any other way. How much money can they possibly be making on preseason? Like, it's gotten to a point where the Panthers aren't even playing most of their starters. I don't even think they're going to play them in game 3. Like, there's no reason to, really. So I don't know what the legit reasoning is to continue to have preseason in the NFL. And I want to open up the conversation there. Rod, let's start with you. Do you see any benefit whatsoever in preseason in the NFL? Because they don't have it in college football.
Yeah, of course. There's always a benefit to preseason in the NFL, and that benefit is twofold. Part of it, like you said, the owners do want the money. But the second part of that is they have close to 100 players on the roster, and they have to cut those players down, I believe, 55, if I'm not mistaken. Those guys are out there trying to find a job. And so the owners, the coaches, the assistant coaches, they have to figure out who can play on that stage, whether it's in Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, NFL preseason. They got to figure out who they're going to keep. They got to figure out who they're going to then split up and put on the practice team. So preseason helps the teams to figure out how they're going to break down and basically select what players are going to be where, who's going to be second string, who's going to be on the practice team, as well as if there's a player that might get cut from another team that may need a job and can be used, from the AFC South and possibly going over to the NFC West. So, preseason to me, Des, it's about finding those guys who are diamonds in the rough and figure out how you can polish them up and get them ready to shine on your team. So for me, preseason is about the jobs for the guys looking for one.
That's valid. And I used to be one of those dudes that I would watch the Panthers preseason game from beginning to end. Like, I literally would sit there week 2, week 4, didn't really matter. I'd sit there and watch the whole thing. And it'd be dudes that you knew were going to be cut, 10 days from now that you never were going to hear from again. And I would watch the whole thing. And somehow the more I've become ingrained with reporting on the Panthers, the less I've wanted to watch the preseason games. It's a weird reversal that's been going on.
It's because you're lazy, Des. You don't want to do more work. That's all.
I mean, I'm not really doing anything right now. It's like, so I don't know why I'm even trying to add on to my plate. But Jaelen, what do you think here? What the purpose of preseason, is it still valid to have it with now being cut to 3 preseason games each year?
Yeah, I'm right there with Rod on this, but I'm gonna be honest, because I'm always pro opportunity, pro someone getting the chance to show what their worth can be. I'm always gonna be on the side of having these preseason games, just so guys can get some good tape, so they can, if it's not for that franchise they're with at that time, they got some good tape that they can show. Maybe get on another team's practice squad and then work their way up. You never know with injuries and everything. So many injuries every week in this league that, the preseason, you have to know who's you can stash away on your practice squad, who and what people look like that are free agents before you bring them in. So it's more benefits to preseason for guys, I would say probably 35 to 53 on the roster instead of that front 34. So, like I said, I know it's not the most entertaining watch just because the quarterback play isn't good. Most times the offensive line are a little leaky, and there's not really big names out there at the playmaker positions and the skill positions. But those guys who cut their teeth, who are making that league minimum, this is the most important time of their career.
Brett, I'm looking for somebody to agree with me here, and Rod and Jaelen went left. Brett, what are your thoughts on preseason? Is it something we should keep? And if we don't keep it, what would be an alternative that would benefit the NFL teams?
Well, Desmond, look, I love you, and I wish I could agree with you. However, the fact is, I cannot. There's too much benefit to the preseason. And I'm going to go off some examples, not just from the NFL, but other sports. Last night at Lambeau Field, you know what the crowd was? Here's the money part: 74,865
for a preseason game. What?
For a preseason game?
There's nothing else to do in Green Bay.
Nothing to do in Green Bay. Let's all go to the Packers game.
Look, I'm just saying. Danny Etling, third string quarterback, 51-yard house call on a read option. Aaron Rodgers went nuts on the sideline on live television in the middle of an interview.
Yep, Danny Etling now officially on the roster.
All those 70.
Boom! Right there. That made him the third string quarterback. Right there.
All those 74,000 fans own a part of the team. That's why they're there.
I'm one of them.
On
Anyways,
yeah.
my certificate's in there. Anyways, Desmond Howard, Super Bowl MVP, 1996, cast off after being cut from the expansion Jaguars, who won 2 games the year before that. Wins Super Bowl MVP. You know why? Because he took a punt back 65 yards in a preseason game against Pittsburgh. That proved that he could do it.
Dang it.
Let's go to other sports and other leagues.
I'm gonna do that because the preseason in the other leagues isn't the same. That was my whole point. Like NBA has
listen, the position battles mean the same thing. Last year with the St. Louis Blues, James Neal was signed on a professional tryout. That's not a guaranteed contract. He scored 6 goals and had 13 assists in the preseason, made the team because of that. Guys in the NFL that might not make their team out of the preseason, National Arena League teams are going to look at that tape, as Jaelen mentioned. USFL teams are going to look at that tape. XFL teams for next year are going to look at that tape. Spring training in Major League Baseball. Andre Palante for the St. Louis Cardinals had a .58 ERA in 6 spring training appearances. That's why he's still on the roster. In the NBA, we haven't seen it as much, but would Miles Bridges have gotten as much playing time his rookie year if he didn't go off in the Celtics game in Chapel Hill? No. The examples are everywhere, Des.
Everywhere it is.
Ryan, all right, Ryan, I'm bringing you in here. Ryan Smith, host of Where Are They Now? Triad All-Stars here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Your opinion on the preseason, my guy. Yeah.
It's a unanimous, all 4 guys are the same. I'm sorry, Desmond. I will say for first string quarterbacks, I will say, Patrick Mahomes just said it the other night. Like when he got hit, he's like, "All right, I know what it feels to be hit again. I'd rather do that in the preseason
game situations."
And right,
but exactly. You can do that in these joint practices, though, right? Like the Panthers.
The quarterback not getting hit in joint practice.
It's not. No, the quarterback's not allowed to get hit.
I don't want him.
Jersey, whatever they wear.
I don't want him hit in August, to be honest. Like you understand.
Yeah, but everybody needs to build that callus on their skin.
You don't want the quarterback to hit. The quarterback feels like he needs to get hit.
Yeah, but see, I'm a Panthers fan, so I've gone through going on 5 years now of seasons being derailed because of injuries early in the season. So
look, I'm sorry your entire roster is made of guys with glass bones and paper skin like the character from SpongeBob, but Ryan, go on.
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, Jaelen already hit on it. The 35 through 53 guys are the main reason preseason still exists. For those guys, the third, fourth stringers making the roster who can be those diamonds in the rough, that 6th round pick, that was Tom Brady. That's right, 6th round pick. So there are guys out there who have value in the preseason. I know Tom Brady has the biggest chip in the history of the world on his shoulder, and so that's why he's still playing at 45.
I can't entertain this foolishness any longer.
And Brett, real quick before he try to change the subject, Brett, isn't it? If you're drafted in the 4th, 5th, or 6th, 7th round, correct? Your contract is not guaranteed.
That is correct. If you're drafted after the 5th round, your contract is not guaranteed. Look at last night.
No.
Tay Hayes.
No.
From Appalachian State, pick 6 for the Carolina Panthers. He's not on a guaranteed contract. He was brought in for being cut by Jacksonville.
And he is not going to make the roster because he.
Side note, he picked off Bailey Zappi of Western Kentucky. So for all us Appalachian State people, that's Boca Raton Bowl revenge season right there.
I'm stopping this foolishness right now because every single person on this panel knows if there was no money to be made in the preseason, there would be no preseason. All this stuff about it's the players and they're using it for development and blah, 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 and tape. If the owners didn't make a dime on preseason, there would be no preseason. In the discussion, like there just wouldn't be one. So like all this talk about how they're doing all this with the talent and everything, they'd find another way. So my question is, why can't they find another way now? Because the majority of people that are NFL fans, they're not diehards like most of us on this panel, but the majority of average Americans that watch the NFL hate the preseason. You don't get to see the stars. They're kind of half playing. They're playing vanilla defense. They're playing basically vanilla offense, really. So whatever you're getting on tape, you're not really actually seeing what they're going to be doing September going forward. So none of this swayed my opinion. Preseason sucks, and it doesn't deserve to be there. And it needs to go away.
let's look at this from a media mogul perspective. Why do you think the NFL went to the NFL Plus model and made out-of-market preseason games available for the first time ever? I've never been able to watch Packers local television and see Kevin Harlan call a preseason game without illegally streaming it until last night.
But how big of an audience is that, though? Overall, like, I mean,
look at the scope of the
Packers, the Cowboys. You just think about if the main
Packers, Cowboys, Steelers, Patriots, exactly. all those fan bases are diehards. Every single one. Cowboys.
That's
Hot
still
rod.
not even a fourth of the league. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
but it's probably a fourth.
Look at the subscription money. Look at the subscription money. That's $5 a month instead of the $99 you would have to pay for Game Pass to get it in previous years.
I just don't think it's worth it.
Between those four franchises, I'll go back
to 2018, week 3. If you want to go to examples of why we shouldn't have it. Week 3 of the 2018 preseason, Patriots versus Panthers. Cam Newton is out there running around, has a Liz Frank injury in his foot, is out for the entire season in a game that was pointless, had nothing to do with anything. He was already battling back from injuries the year before, derailed the entire Panthers season. It's the reason why Ron Rivera is no longer a head coach in Charlotte, North Carolina, because of a preseason game. Like,
y'all only going to win 7 games anyway. So
I can't name a player other than Victor Cruz that comes to mind immediately that has benefited from playing the preseason and elevated himself to a 53-man roster.
Desmond Howard.
But we knew who Desmond Howard was before that. That's not the same. We didn't know who Victor Cruz was. Like, I'm talking about guys that came out of nowhere, like people that we did not know that built their reputation off of what they did in an entire preseason and got a roster spot because of that. Other than, unless someone else can bring up a name, I can't think of anybody else besides Victor Cruz that did that in the preseason and built his reputation on what he did.
Adam Thielen.
Did Adam Thielen get on because of preseason?
Adam Thielen was undrafted out of a Division II school and went off in its rookie preseason. There's the only reason he's on the roster right now is because he proved he could do it in camp and in preseason games. He proved he could do it in game situations.
Well, they've already cut one of these games, the one that nobody played in, the fourth one, because they added a regular season game. They're going to get to 18 games in the regular season, so they're going to drop another preseason game. And I think 2 is right. I think if they're going to do,
I think 2 is the perfect number. Right. I agree with you there.
2 is perfect. 2 is perfect.
3 is just there's no reason to watch this third game.
There's someone else that made their name in the preseason out there in Baltimore and ended up having a very, very long NFL career out of Winston-Salem, Anthony Levine.
Anthony Levine. Why is that name not familiar to me? What did he play?
He played linebacker, kind of like a hybrid linebacker safety. He was with Baltimore for a long time.
Yeah, he was like number 44, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Did he play for Winston State or something? He come from out of here?
He went to Reynolds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That name, it sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been before I got knee deep.
He went to Tennessee State and was undrafted and ended up making the roster. And now he's been in the NFL for 12 years.
We're gonna stop for just a bit, take a quick break. Nothing was solved. I guess preseason is meaningful, and
that's all. Okay.
I think we do agree that it should be shortened to 2 games, not 3. It should never have been 4. And maybe
that we are unanimous in as well.
But to do that, they would have to go to 18 games, an 18-game schedule, which I think we're barreling towards anyway. A 17-game schedule sounds weird.
I'm cool with that. I hate this uneven number of records at the end of the season.
Especially when I'm trying to
do my OCD.
I try to do predictions and I forget there's an extra game in there, and I'm like, no, wait, I got to figure out what. Okay, so yeah, let's get to 18. And I know that the football players are like, no, we don't want to do that because we're going to get paid the same amount of money. They got to figure something out to accommodate that if they're going to play an extra game, which I don't think they did when they added the 17th game when they did the CBA. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to touch on the NFC South as we do our division previews. I've been saving it for a bit until I had enough people on the panel so we can get through it properly. There's some question marks in the NFC South. I don't think it's so cut and dry as a lot of people believe from the outside looking in. I'm looking at 3 teams in this division that could potentially do something, and 1 team that's dumpster fire. And it's not the Carolina Panthers, Jaelen Gilkey. It's another one of those teams in the NFC South. So we'll be packing.
What kind of fire you want to call Carolina? a trash can fire?
A special fire, disco fire. It's a glittery, just like magical fire. Like we gonna talk about it because
what unicorn dust?
Carolina gonna do something. I think Carolina got something special going on, and it's because of these joint practices that they had this week with the Patriots that made me kind of changed my mind on what they could and couldn't do this season.
And y'all say Cowboy fans are disillusioned. Are you not listening to this Panther fan?
I think it's just Desmond. I think it's just Desmond.
No, I'm feeling it, man. Baker Mania.
I'm a Panthers fan too. I'll be ready to defend.
Yes, I've already got another Panthers fan on here with me. We'll be back in just a bit. You're listening to The Rundown, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com and WWBG 1470 AM.
You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Find your next car at Auto Store of North Carolina in Walkertown. Their goal is to make car shopping and car buying experience fast, friendly, and easy. They have helped hundreds of customers get behind the wheel of a newer, reliable, quality used car, and they could help you too. Stop by and speak with one of their sales professionals today and drive away with your new car. The Auto Store of North Carolina, 4964 Reedsville Road in Walkertown. Give them a call at 326-595-8550 and view the current inventory of vehicles at autostoreofnc.com.
It's the high school football game of the week.
Listen, man. Tonight is the night to make a name for yourself.
Not one, but two of the best games in the triad every Friday.
All comes down to today.
Catch the action on WTOB 980 AM and 96.7 FM.
Who got my back?
Or tune in to our second game on WCOG 1320 AM. Both games powered by TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, your home for Triad Sports. Welcome to J. Pepper's Southern Grill, locally owned and operated, serving the Kernersville community for over 10 years. Delicious homemade Southern food with a menu with a little something for everyone. With daily lunch and dinner specials, you can't go wrong choosing J. Pepper's, home of the Nest with East Forsyth head coach Todd Willard every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. live during the season. Plus Wine Wednesday with half-price wine all day and live music every Thursday night. Come join the fun at J. Pepper's Southern Grill, 841 Old Winston Road in Kernersville. Call in your order now at 336-497-4727.
Hey, Pops, where you want to go eat tonight?
I'm going to go get me some good Southern cooking at Ball Brothers down by the airport in Winston.
No, Pops, it's Bell Brothers, and they closed years ago. It's Taste of the Triad now.
Taste of the Triad? Is it in the old Ball Brothers building?
Yup.
Can I still get baked chicken and collard greens?
Sure can.
How about neck bones, meatloaf, and pork chops?
Taste of the Triad has all that.
So they ain't got pinto beans, tater salad, mac and cheese, or fried okra?
Pops, they have all that, plus homemade cakes and cobblers and sweet potato pie.
Well, then I don't care what they call it. Let's go eat.
Taste of the Triad. Open daily for lunch with $5.99 specials from 11 to 2 and chef specials daily. Don't miss the Saturday brunch from 9 to 1 and the soulful Sunday dinner when you come out of church full of the word, but hungry for Southern comfort food. Taste of the Triad in the old Bell Brothers building at Old Walkertown Road and North Liberty in Winston-Salem.
That's good Southern cooking.
Can I get an Aggie break? Football is back at North Carolina A&T. New season, new conference. Say Aggie Pride. Come cheer on the Aggies as they continue their winning tradition. Tickets on sale now.
Listen to North Carolina A&T Aggie football all season long on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
Back to the Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Welcome back into the Rundown here at WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, streaming live across a bunch of platforms: Facebook Watch, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. You can catch us every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Hot Rod Funderburk, Jaelen, Gilkey, Brett Wiseman, Ryan Smith in the house here for hour number one. The NFC South, I've been saving this, our divisional previews for the NFL. NFC and AFC South are today. NFC South we'll tackle here right now in this first hour. We'll get you some recaps, high school football scores from last night and Thursday after this segment here, going up towards the top of the hour. I thought it was funny. Thursday, I was seeing all these schools scramble to move their games to Thursday to try to avoid rain on Friday night. And I was out doing something around 6:30, 7 o'clock Thursday night. And literally, as soon as it hit 7 o'clock, it started raining, like where I was, like all over the place. And I was like, dang, like, so all these schools moved.
Didn't rain at Glenn.
Didn't rain at East Forsyth. Like it was a beautiful
It
night.
didn't rain last night at Williams either.
So see, look, from Kernersville to Burlington, like there was no rain from 7 until 10:30 or whatever. And like when I was asking around, like, hey, are y'all moving your game? Are you moving your game? It was more of a no. Why would we move our game? Like it felt like I was asking a question. They had no idea like why I was asking. They were moving the game, and it turned out to be a great night. No breeze. Felt like a unseasonably warm autumn evening. Although we were seeing some cramping and some issues of that sort late in our game over at
yeah, we were as well.
Yeah,
especially with the guys from Fayetteville, they were cramping left and right.
Yeah, actually, surprisingly, kids from East Forsyth were cramping up last night. It was a topic of discussion that we had on our broadcast where key guys were getting cramps, but it's all right because it felt like they had 3 Jaelen Rayners out there last night. Dude was all over the place.
How many points did his Madden Ultimate Team card put up last night? His
what do you have,
90 overall out there.
Yeah, he had 7 touchdowns, I think, Rod. I mean,
he had 7 touchdowns. He had, I think, 333 yards rushing.
Yeah,
and I want to say it was 100
just rushing.
Just rushing, and then 180 some yards passing. I think
something like that. Yeah, 7 total touchdowns, and that was something where I was going to have to get with you guys because I believe we're bringing back the Player of the Week award that we were doing with Carolina Cobras last year. I got to get with Coach Rez this weekend to see about that. I'm pretty sure Jaelen Rayner nailed it.
I was going to say, I think there's an easy winner there.
Brett, get this. At the end of the game, the defense was cramping so bad, they put Jaelen Rayner in at cornerback.
I heard that. I heard that at the very end.
Let me guess. First pass defended was a PBU.
Hey, shout out to Northwest Guilford because those boys fought back last night. They did. Most teams, they were down 38-14 or something at the half, and most teams come up to Kernersville and they just kind of play it out the second half when it gets to that point. And they fought back. They made it a game. They made us work. We couldn't leave early. I saw the Glen game was already over, and we were still sitting there in the booth finishing up our game, and we had started at the same time.
Yeah,
so
shout out to Terry Sanford from Fayetteville coming into the under the water tower and making a statement. But speaking of statements, and I know we'll get to this in a second, but RJ Reynolds, they made one last night. They went down to High Point Christian.
Oh, High Point. They beat High Point Christian? I thought they played High Point Central.
High Point Central. Sorry, that's what I meant. But yeah,
and High Point Central was ranked, I believe, in the news and record polls. So
they were.
So we'll get to that. Mount Tabor had a huge win on the road against Richmond County on Thursday night. That was pretty eye-opening across the state. So we'll talk about all that here in just a bit. The NFC South. I'm tired of feeling like I should feel bad about thinking Carolina might be able to win this division. Like I just am. Like I feel like I'm looking across the division. The Saints are getting way too much credit. Like, I don't understand why the Saints are getting all this love. They lost Sean Payton. That seems like that should be a much bigger deal than what the national media is making it out to be. And maybe it's because I'm listening to the national media, and they always do this in the NFC South, where they just kind of poo-poo it. It's like it's nothing. But then the NFC South sends a team to the Super Bowl or something, and they're like the greatest thing ever or whatever. And so that team loses the Super Bowl. But anyway, Tampa Bay, they don't know where their 45-year-old quarterback is at the moment, and they don't know when he's coming back. I'm starting to wonder if he is going to come back, and maybe he made a mistake by coming back in the first place. Atlanta doesn't have anything but Kyle Pitts. Like, they have nothing but a tight end, and he can't throw the ball to himself. So they are the dumpster fire of the division. I expect them to win maybe 4 games this year, which brings us to the Carolina Panthers. And I'm sitting there going through the reasons why they couldn't win the division. And the number one reason I hopped on was that they didn't have a quarterback the past 2 years. That they were competitive in all these games. You rarely see the Panthers get blown out by anybody. And now they look like they have a quarterback. Baker's probably going to get named the starter on Monday. Looks like they fixed the offensive line. I saw Icky with a pancake block like the first play of the game last night. Like he hurt some Patriots player doing it down the field on a lead block. Christian McCaffrey's healthy as it stands today, Saturday, August the 20th, because they've got him in bubble wrap and he's not playing any preseason. So he should be available for week 1 unless he rolls out of the bed funny. Matt Rule saw the error of his ways, got rid of half the college coaches he had on that roster, put some pro coaches on, which was a main issue. The defense was the second overall defense in the league last year in yards allowed. Like, what am I missing here why the Panthers can't do it? And I don't want to hear it's the Panthers or, any of that stock type stuff. Like, why can't they win this division?
All right, I'll start.
Yeah, you start, Ryan.
Before I put anything out there, my this disclaimer is while I am a Panthers fan, if I'm talking over a audience where people can hear my opinion. I'm very unbiased when it comes to my opinions. I want to make that very clear.
Yes, and we're an unbiased safe space here. Everyone.
Okay. All right. So one of the reasons I'll just give you a fact about each of the other three teams on why I think they will win or can win the division. And then I'll give you why they can't. So for Tampa, you already mentioned their quarterback. I also mentioned their offensive line. They've already suffered. The Ryan Jensen's out. Tristan Wirfs just got injured. He's their best offensive lineman by far. Mm-hmm. He's only a second-year player. They lost Jordan Whitehead on defense, safety, who was one of their most underrated players last year. Chris Godwin's coming off an ACL. Mike Evans is currently injured as well. So many question marks on that Tampa Bay team. Atlanta is just a dumpster fire. We're going to skip over them. Other than Kyle Pitts, they also have A.J. Terrell turning into a pretty good corner. But other than that, and Grady Jarrett on the D-line. But other than that, Atlanta.
Not enough. Yeah, 3 dudes. That's not enough.
And then New Orleans, Dennis Allen was a Raiders head coach who had a less than 500 record in 3 seasons.
Talk to him.
And yes, their defense will be fine. I'm not concerned about that. New Orleans always has a decent defense. But on offense, their wide receiver room, yeah, they might be decent. Pretty good, actually. But other than that, James is coming off the ACL.
Best in the division?
Well,
really?
Anyway,
with the health status.
Here we go. So going to the Panthers. So those are my 3. So going to the Panthers. The reason why I don't think they can win is if the offensive line doesn't gel as much as we're expecting them to slowly over the season. My comparison is the Chiefs last year. They started 5 new offensive linemen, it seemed like. And you saw Patrick Mahomes struggle the first half of the year, especially because the offensive line was still figuring out their way. I think Ike Ekwonu is going to struggle in pass protection early. He's going to figure out his way. He's a beast in run blocking. Offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo said he can block out the sun and run blocking, but pass blocking, he's going to find his way. But I think Austin Corbett is an upgrade at right guard. Taylor Moton's a stud at right tackle. And rumor is he's taken that next step to Pro Bowl level this offseason. Center, that is probably our biggest question mark. Bradley Bozeman, who's currently injured right now.
Yeah, that was
Pat Elflein. But Pat Elflein, let's remember, we're all talking about him at guard, and he sucks at guard. But at center, he was the Remington Award winner at Ohio State for the nation's best center last time I checked. So that's his natural position. And then left guard, who am I blanking on? Brady Christensen, who could play left tackle last year. So that is my biggest question mark on why we may not be able to win the division, is if the offensive line does not come together like we think it could, and then ultimately protect whoever is playing quarterback, which I think will still be big.
So that offensive line led the Panthers to 5 wins somehow last year.
3
of them in the first 3 weeks of the season with Sam Darnold behind it. I'm looking at like Baker Mayfield behind this revamped offensive line with Christian McCaffrey being able to be there. That's got to be worth at least 4 wins. Like at least 4 wins. That puts them at 9 wins for the season. 9 wins might be enough to win this division.
And I'm not even talking about the defensive side of the ball. I'm not even worried about that side. I think if we just stay, like every team, if you stay healthy, and the defense was second in yards, like you said, last year, I think Brian Burns is going to take that next step this year. The biggest question on defense, to answer your question for the other side of the ball, the biggest reason is we don't get enough pass rush from the left-hand side opposite Brian Burns. That would be probably my biggest question mark.
Where Hassan Reddick was last year.
Correct. That'd be my biggest question mark on defense.
Someone will have to step up there. And plus, they've got Matt Rule is starting to have dudes that are called rule guys. The first guy that comes to mind is Frankie Louvu, where this dude, nobody really knew who he was coming into the season last year. He just kind of did everything right. He's just one of those glue guys, one of them grit guys that you got to have on the team that just stick around, like a Danny Amendola type of guy. You're just like, well, you know, why is he here? But then he ends the game with like 10 catches for 100 yards or something nuts like that. Frankie Louvu, the linebacker for the Panthers, is starting to become almost indispensable to that linebacking core. I have questions about the linebacking core for the first time, really, maybe in the history of the Panthers, in terms of what they have there. Shaq Thompson looked like he was going to have a career year last year before he started getting hurt and dinged up, and it derailed the rest of his season. But before that, he was all over the place, Luke Kuechly style, those first 3 games. And people don't talk about that happening last year either. They get J.C. Horn back this year, the number 1 draft pick from last year that only played those 3 games that many people were saying could be a shutdown cornerback. You get a guy like that on one side, Dante Jackson on the other, with what they added in the back with Xavier Woods at safety that no one's talking about. That was a great pickup for them at safety. Jeremy Chin that they drafted a couple years ago that people were really high on. I just feel like I'm just looking at the pieces and I'm like, it feels like a it kind of feels like 2003 to me, where going into that season, there was a quarterback issue for the Panthers. It was Jake Delhomme and Rodney Peete. Rodney Peete started the first game of the season. They had to put Jake Delhomme in at halftime because Pete was stinking it up. He brings them back from down. I think they're playing Jacksonville. They win that game. They become the Cardiac Cats. They win a bunch of overtime games that season. They end up in the Super Bowl. Every time the Panthers have made the Super Bowl, they've never been picked. I don't even think they even win their division that year. They just kind of come out of nowhere. But then when we look back on it and we look at the roster, we're like, well, hell, they had everything they needed to get there. Like, the division was down. They had this, they had that. They had running backs. They had offensive line. The defense came together. And I'm just kind of seeing it now. And then watching the Panthers-Patriots joint practices this week, the one question I had about this team was that before, when Rule was here, when they got rid of Cam Newton, they got rid of that dude that everybody follows. Like, you need a dude that everybody wants to follow behind in football, in my opinion. Like, you need somebody that you just believe in, that you can run through a wall for. It could be the coach, it could be the quarterback, it could be Ray Lewis, it could be anybody. You just have to have that personality to succeed in football, in my opinion. And the Panthers didn't have one of those dudes. Sam Darnold's not that guy. Like, he's not a guy you want to, go fight for. You see him in a fight in a bar, I don't know if you're going to run over there to help him out. But Baker Mayfield, you probably will. Like, he seems like the type that's got this Jake Delhomme-like it factor where he doesn't wow you on the practice field. He won't do anything in a game where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just did that kind of pass. But he will threaten your defense. He will push your offense to do some things they may not have been able to do before. And it doesn't seem physically possible for the guy. So I'm hoping that Baker being inserted in this and then seeing the offensive line fighting for these guys during these joint practices, where it seemed like the Patriots were just a little too feisty. They'd throw somebody to the ground, the Panthers would run in, and the big one was they threw Christian McCaffrey to the ground, like out of bounds late or something, and the entire offensive line ran over, and then the whole team ran over. I think one of them, a fan got hurt or something like that. They got thrown in the stands or something nuts. But the Panthers were fighting. That's my whole point. They actually were showing that they would stand up for them. So I feel like they've turned a corner where the past 2 years they're just playing off of talent and not knowing where they were going and just kind of learning the playbook. This year it feels like the game's going to slow down for these young guys, because this is one of the youngest teams in the league too. And I just feel like they could do this year. I just don't understand the logic that the Saints and Tampa are just going to easily win this division and run away with it. Does anybody know where Tom Brady is? Like, where he's at?
Like, doesn't matter. As long as he's there week one. That's all that matters.
Have we really gotten to that point where a 45-year-old Tom Brady can just step in week one and be at Tom Brady level? Are we really at the point where we're saying that he doesn't even need it?
I mean, Des, if anybody could do it, it's going to be him. So I don't understand what your point is on this one.
My point is, I hate Tom Brady.
He knows. I mean, he literally came to Tampa and had his whole implemented his own offense. Like, it's his baby. He's fully aware of what's going on, where everybody needs to be, and everything.
Ryan made some excellent points that Tampa's got a lot of injuries to deal with.
Now that is the issue with Tampa.
You don't think Tom's sitting at home with Giselle and Giselle's talking about that in his ear?
If you believe the latest, if you believe the rumors, he's actually filming the next season of Masked Singer.
No, he's
that's
something
I cannot subscribe to, because that does not sound like something Tom Brady would do. Let me unretire and then miss the entire preseason to go tape the Masked Singer, show up week one, and just assume I'm going to be TB12.
He might be somewhere at broadcast school. That's what he might be doing.
That's what he needs to do. That's what that money.
He might have gone to Full Sail University and gone to Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting.
Didn't he sign a deal? Who did he sign? Was it Fox? He signed some crazy deal.
Yeah. As soon as he retires, he steps into the booth for $300 million.
Yes, that's what it was. What in the world are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, why would you? I'm 44, and I didn't play football, and I can't even imagine like playing it, quitting, like having the mentality to quit, deciding you didn't want to quit after you signed a $300 million deal to not play football and just sit there and talk about it. Like, what was the appeal?
I think what Tom would say there was kind of in your answer already. You didn't play football, so you can't imagine. And what he would go off with that is just the rush, the camaraderie, everything that comes with it. You know, just being with the guys, being part of the team, winning, having 53 guys and leading 53 guys to one goal, one direction, and making sure everybody's on that one accord. that's something that you can't find anywhere else. And a lot of professional athletes from all sports, they'll tell you that's the number one thing. The plane, the locker room, and just the in-between time with the guys is something that you can't get back and you can't duplicate. So everybody says, hang in there as long as you can because those moments are priceless. Those memories last forever. And I think those, for a lot of guys in professional sports, that is their number one motivation after they get that bag.
What about his kids, Jaelen? What about his kids? What about his children?
Kids are kind of not good. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a fan of kids. So like, I can completely understand. He was probably at the house those 40 days. Kids come flying in, changing the channel, cutting on Coco Melon. Like, what are we doing?
I gotta go back.
What do we do? I don't stop changing my TV. I gotta wake up at 5:30, not to go train, but I gotta go take you to school and then like find something to do with the rest of my day. That doesn't sound fun either. And not just wait for you to get out.
He had plenty to do with Giselle's honey-do list.
See, exactly. She get another thing to the list, right? Of things he don't want to do.
So like golden scrolls.
Let me get back in
like,
the
I'm gonna
huddle.
wait 20 years for this.
No, I'm studying, babe. Don't knock on my door. Don't tap. Y'all know when I go in this dungeon, I'm in here working. And he didn't have that excuse anymore.
It's funny because my dad just retired in April. He was a truck driver for over 40 years, and it's funny watching him because he's like me, where y'all know me, I'm always on the go doing something, and I got it from him, that work ethic. And it's funny watching him now where he literally wakes up in the morning and has nothing to do. Like he doesn't know what to do, so he's out mowing people's yards and out and just doing stuff in the building outside, just randomness. And he'll just be wandering around Kernersville, just driving around. He'll hang out at Lowe's Hardware. You know what I mean? Like he's trying to figure out what to do next. And like I already know my mom's probably already fed up with him being there like all day long because he's already talking about, I might go back, pick up a couple of days, a couple part-time thing. I'm like, Dad, you've only been retired for like 4 months. Like go just enjoy it, enjoy
You gotta
your
think though,
grandkids and
120 days of nothingness. Like he's sitting there about to go crazy.
Yeah, he's just sitting there watching television, watching old westerns and Andy Griffin and stuff, and just itching to get out and go do something. So shout out to Sherman Johnson. Did we get, so who would you, let's go around the thing here. NFC South. Pick your winner going into this. Rob, we'll start with you. We'll go clockwise.
My winner, man, it's hard to say. Like you guys said, Atlanta's a dumpster fire.
I need to make that a t-shirt.
Don't get me wrong. I like the Carolina Panthers. That's the second team that I pull for after the Cowboys, of course. But I have an issue with their leadership, and I'm talking Matt Rule from the beginning. I question someone who thinks that Sam Darnold can be their franchise quarterback. I'm sorry.
What are you doing?
And I mean,
around all that.
And then Baker Mayfield. I mean, I don't think he's as bad as Sam Darnold, but I do believe Baker Mayfield could bring some locker room issues with the combination of him and his wife. I think they just did that with the Browns. So hopefully they can straighten that out.
What's that?
She got Twitter fingers, brother.
Yeah, when he was with the Browns, his wife started some stuff for conversations that they were having at home that should have stayed at home. She made it public.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I mean, I like the Panthers, but I'm just not sure along those lines there. And I mean, the Panthers, I think they have the defense to do it. I'm just not sure on the offensive side of the ball, along with Matt Rule. Like you guys talked about the Saints, I think the defense is going to be great. I think they have some pretty good wide receivers down there, but I hate the fact that Sean Payton is missing. There's something about a Sean Payton, the way he's an offensive mind, he game plans. He goes into the dungeon all week to make sure that he is ready for whatever defensive team that he's about to face. And I'm not so sure about the leadership the new coach now. Like Ron was saying, hey, there's a problem with the coach there.
And he only won like 6 games or something weird with the Raiders.
Right. So, at the end of the, and then you guys say, hey, like Ron said, Tom Brady's going to have some issues with the Bucs. He's not there. Bucs have injury issues. The offensive line is not that great. The only thing that I can say is that I will pick the Bucs, and that's simply because Tom Brady usually can get the best out of guys. They got Julio Jones coming down. So Julio Jones, I expect his career, along with Tom Brady, maybe to be slightly resurrected. But I just feel like if the offensive line is not playing well, once Tom Brady digs into you a little bit, that just from a pride standpoint alone, the offensive line will at least try and pick up their play. And I think the way that Tom Brady's leadership is, it will help out that Bucs team. So to me, everybody's even kind of across the board except for the Atlanta Falcons. But I'll give the slight edge to Tom Brady and the Bucs simply because of leadership.
I was about to say, you're kind of making an argument for nobody to win the NFC South.
Yeah, I mean, that's
what
I didn't make the argument. If you listen to
anybody's
Ryan,
won.
and listen, if you listen to Ryan the whole time, he brought out every single point for each team of why they would not win the division.
He did excellent.
He did a great job. So when you look at it along that standpoint, it's a matter of, who doesn't screw up the worst.
That's a good point there. Brett, real quick, give it to me. Who you got winning the NFC South and why?
I can't assume that Tom Brady won't come back because I don't want to have hope.
I'm not doing that again. Yeah, I'm not going to just assume he's gone.
Here's the issue. I think Carolina will be a wild card. I don't think they're going to overtake Tampa Bay just because. Look, there's a couple things with Tampa and New Orleans that people aren't realizing. Number one, Tom Brady hasn't had the ball snapped to him by anybody not named Ryan Jensen in years. That's going to take some adjusting. But if there's anybody that can adjust to it, it's Tom Brady. He's going to find a way to get Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Julio Jones, O.J. Howard. They've got Leonard Fournette. They have a run game. They still have a great defense. I can't bet against them right now.
Sure
but
you
can. I could, but I won't. I think Carolina will finish within 1 to 2 games of them, but they'll be one of those 3 wild cards. New Orleans.
What are you thinking Tampa win total is?
I think Tampa win total. I'm thinking 10 wins.
10. Okay.
But I'm thinking Carolina could win.
Like 10-7 could win this division. That sounds about right.
I'm thinking Carolina 9-8, 8-9, but could still get a wild card based on how mediocre the rest of the NFC can be. New Orleans. The one thing people are forgetting, and they're gonna think because Jameis Winston had a good year last year that's going to carry over to this year. You know the only reason Jameis Winston was brought to New Orleans? Sean Payton. Sean Payton took a flyer. Nobody wanted Jameis Winston. Sean Payton took a flyer on him. Jameis Winston played in the Sean Payton offense and thrived. Guess what? He's not playing in the Sean Payton offense anymore. Guess what? Crab-leg Jameis Winston will return in 2022.
Oh, 30 for 30. He coming. Ryan, your thoughts on the NFC? Did you pick a winner for the NFC?
I did
South?
not.
Okay,
I did not. I just gave points. Okay, so Brett almost stole my argument, but I'm going to try to say something different. I do think Tampa will win this division at 10-7 or 11-6. It still feels weird saying those records. Carolina, I think, is 9-8. That has been my original prediction since July. With actually post Baker Mayfield trade, that has been my prediction is 9-8 for the Panthers. Second in the South with a wild card, like Brett said. I think going back to Rod's point about the leadership of the Bucs, for the question with the Panthers. Just like Tampa has been the top of the South for the last couple of years, to beat the best, you have to beat them. So I think until I see the Panthers beat the Bucs this year, then I might say, okay, I think they can win now. But as of now,
that's fair.
Correct. I think they will be second behind the Bucs. So Tampa first, Carolina second, then New Orleans, then Atlanta. I think let me be clear, I think there will be a drop-off between New Orleans and Atlanta from the rest of the division. So this might be a bold take, but I don't think New Orleans is winning more than 8 games this year.
Okay. I don't think it's bold at all. I think I'm kind of working.
That's right on point. Yeah.
Jaelen, who you got, NFC South?
Well, I would officially like to crown the NFC South as the second worst division. Oh, no.
Wow, really?
Not yet. Still got the AFC South. Still got the AFC South out there. Yeah. So they have saved you.
Hour number 2.
They have saved you. But it's gonna be neck and neck for sure. With the uncertainty in Atlanta, I'm thinking Atlanta probably wins maybe 4 games max. Now New Orleans is probably the most interesting piece to this whole puzzle, right? Because you say Sean Payton's gone, but their offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, he's been there since 2009. So he's been there since 2009. the new head coach, Dennis Allen's been there since around the same time. And I know y'all give Dennis Allen a hard time because of his time in Oakland, even though he was out there with Terrell Pryor and Carson Palmer after his 19th leg surgery. So let's have a little grace. But I just like the pieces that New Orleans has, right? They seem to have the strongest roster in the NFC South last year, and the most consistent roster until, Tampa was able to turn it on towards the end of the year and just get on that roll, even though they still beat Tampa multiple times. And I think that's the number one biggest point, the biggest reason I like the Saints to win this division, not because of Jameis. I love Kamara and everything he's bringing. I love bringing Mark Ingram back just to be able to have a counterbalance, more of a hammer power back to go with Kamara and take some of that rushing load off of him as well. But I love the way their defense is led by Cam Jordan. They've got Demario Davis. They got guys that have been there, staples, and know what is expected of them by their former defensive coordinator, now head coach Dennis Allen. So I think I got New Orleans winning this division this year because of the uncertainty in Tampa with the offensive line and the injuries. I know. So it's a chance that Marshall Yonder or somebody come out of retirement to come protect Tom Brady because he has that it factor. It's just because he has that gravitational pull that guys will be like, okay, well, Tom needs help. Like I can play football and win a Super Bowl.
It's like Super Friends. They just like calls them out.
Exactly.
They come out of retirement and show up.
Am I hating? Absolutely. But do I love to see it? I do. So
that's where Tom Brady is. He's out recruiting Gronk. He's hanging out, dancing with Gronk.
He's got his own gravitational pull, man.
I expect Gronk to play the last 6 weeks of this season and the playoffs. Like I fully expect him to be back in pads in Tampa.
And he's gonna look good too.
Yeah, he'll be slimmed down a little bit.
But I'm nervous about Carolina. I'm not gonna lie.
Why? Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. It's
the
cool.
combination of Matt Rule, Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield. That just sounds like a storm.
We don't even need to talk about Sam Darnold anymore. Let's start right
there.
there.
Why not? Because
he's not
the biggest question.
He's not part of the equation.
The biggest question mark is the offensive line. Baker's battled injuries the last 2 years. So if the offensive line is the biggest question mark on the team by far.
If the offensive line is a marked improvement over last year, and Christian McCaffrey is there for 17 games,
we didn't even get to Mr. Glass Bones. I only got him. I've only got him.
Broke a single bone.
I've got him penciled in for 6 weeks.
All soft tissue injuries, all non-contact. He'll be fine.
Soft tissue injury is worse than breaking a bone. At least you
can
put a real time. You can put a real timetable on a broken bone. You can't put a timetable on a soft tissue injury.
Real quick to Jalen's point, I will say. So Dennis Allen was 8-28 in his seasons in Oakland. Looked it up. Tom Brady
with Carson Palmer with one leg and Terrell Pryor.
Well, no. I was actually going to give you credit.
Terrell Pryor started nowhere else.
I was going to give you credit. Tom Brady's kryptonite is New Orleans so far, and since he's been in the NFC South, New Orleans has done a good job defensively against Tom Brady. So I was just going to give him credit from that standpoint. And then finally, from the NFC South perspective, I lost my point there, but that's okay. Yeah, so I would say the Tom Brady's kryptonite was New Orleans. It has been so far. So I would agree from that point from Jaelen.
All right, I'm about to
go ahead. And real quick, I know you guys were about to say something about the worst division. I'm gonna tell you right now, the worst division in the league is the NFC East.
I was coming back.
The AFC South and the NFC South, they're fighting for second place, brother. They fight for second place.
Man, NFC South's better than that. NFC South's better. I wouldn't even put them on par. The AFC South, I don't think any team should go to the playoffs out of the AFC South.
I think Indianapolis might get out of there this year from the South.
Indianapolis, I think, will get out of there.
Who's their quarterback?
Yeah.
Who's the quarterback?
Matt Ryan.
No. Nope.
Yes.
Matty Ice. Nope.
I got probably the best offensive line in the league.
Dude, and they got a running game.
And Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, they got a running game.
And they're in a horrible division. So Indy will probably win it by default.
They get to play Houston twice.
We tried to do the NFC East, I think last week or week before, and we came to the conclusion that no one was going to win the division. The whole division sucked. Like we were just like we couldn't fit because like we were looking at the Cowboys like this is going to be the least amount of skill position players Dak has ever had, and they just gave him $40 million a year or whatever. No Amari Cooper anymore. CeeDee Lamb's going to be getting doubled.
I think Philly wins that division.
We kind of landed on Philly just by default because they're younger. They got the talent. It really depends on what Jalen Hurts does through the season. Will be their gauge for what they can do. I don't know what the Commanders are doing. Although it does look like maybe our boy Sam Howell might be starting before this is all said and done in Washington, because who's he fighting it over?
Carson Wentz.
I don't know what has happened to Carson. Well, I was never really high on him when he got drafted. I always thought he got overdrafted to begin with, and he's kind of showing it now that maybe he was overrated when he came out.
Well, since he had that initial leg injury, he just hasn't been the same. But before that, he was dynamite. I mean, he was playing really good football.
MVP level that one year with Philly. You know,
great team.
So we'll see. But I am picking the Panthers to win this division. I'm gonna plant my flag right here. I'll double down on it on the Believe in Panther podcast later in the week. But because I picked them to go 11-7, and I picked them to go 11-7 when me and Skylar did the schedule release before Baker was here, like before I even knew who the quarterback was. And I was basing it off of the defense, and I was basing it off of having a healthy CMC. And I was like, if we can just get average quarterback play, this team is equipped to win football games. They just have to learn how to win these close games they've been in for 2 years.
You're predicting things off things you've never seen.
No, I've watched this team. This team has lost games in the end. Someone mentioned it. I think it was you, Rod. You said you didn't trust the Panthers leadership. They've lost games with time management and weird calls, and
Minnesota last year in overtime.
Yeah, they've lost games they should have won.
It's always at the end of the game too.
It's at the end of the game, and I think a lot of that was because Matt Rule had brought in a complete college staff for his coaching staff, and realized he couldn't win in the NFL that way. So everybody basically got flipped out except for Phil Snow, the defensive coordinator, who has shown he can run an NFL defense quite well. Matter of fact. And now they've got, Ben McAdoo, who we didn't touch on, as the offensive coordinator. So you've got somebody there now that can actually talk to these quarterbacks in NFL language, as opposed to Joe Brady, who was there before, who had never held an offensive coordinator position. So they started 3-4 steps back, on their own. They self-inflicted wounds, doing things like that, thinking Teddy Bridgewater could be a bridge, bringing Cam Newton back. They probably shouldn't have did that, although I know why they did it. All these things, they overshot their shot, thinking Sam Darnold could be rejuvenated in Carolina. That's the main issue they've had, but they've tried to rectify that as well. My point being, Matt Rule seems like he's learning on the job. He's learned from some of these mistakes he's had the past couple of years, and I don't expect him to keep repeating them, because he's had success wherever he's gone. By year 3, he's flipped around whatever program he's been doing this thing with. This is year 3. So if it's really going to happen, I got to predict it to happen now, because that's what it's happened for him the past 2 stops he's been at, in places that were horrific. Baylor, Temple, football, he turned these places around into respectable programs, and I think he can do the same with Carolina, and they're following that path. Plus their schedule. Carolina, most of their toughest games are at home this year. If you look at their schedule, they play the NFC West, and they're playing San Francisco and Arizona, but for some reason they're playing at 4:00 on Sundays at Bank of America Stadium. They have a 3rd place schedule for whatever that's worth. Y'all know how I feel about strength of schedule stuff, but their schedule's fairly manageable. If these other teams in the NFC South that we're talking about aren't going to be as strong as we think, that's a 50-50 anytime any of those teams meet. So Carolina, they can go, 4-2 in conference play, or 3-3 at least, and just handle their non-conference stuff. I don't see why they can't get to 10-11 wins. I really don't, with the healthy CMC and the quarterback situation figured out. So if Baker works out, throws for 3,000 yards, less than 15 interceptions, McCaffrey's out there doing McCaffrey things. He's a top 3 player in the league. What are we doing? We're sitting there talking about it as if it can't happen. There's no way it can happen, but they have all the pieces to make it happen. We just got to see if they can do it. I'm going to predict they can do it, and the Panthers are going to go 11-7.
So when they go 5-12, then what are we gonna do?
We'll have to just run back to the beautiful bean footage, I guess, because I'll be out
for the 5th year in a row now.
Bookmark.
People keep saying I pick the Panthers every year. That is not accurate. That is not true. I have not picked the Panthers to win this division since 2018.
Oh, you were very high on the horse last year. I'm not gonna lie.
For the Panthers to win the division? No, I had
not to win. I'm not gonna say to win, but you were high on the horse last year.
And I thought they could do. They started off 3-0. They were doing well. CMC was healthy. It was when he got hurt.
Stop responding to my text week 4.
Everything fell apart. Everything fell apart when CMC went down.
Once I got to week 8, I couldn't even find this. It was crazy.
We weren't hardly even talking about the Panthers on this show each week after that. They weren't giving me a lot to talk about. Sam Darnold just made me sad. It was just sad every Sunday. Do you know what it feels like when you have to do a podcast for a team and that team sucks and you have to watch the game? Like, it becomes a chore, like to have to watch 3.5 hours.
That's how I felt last year when I was doing Sundays on the show.
Dude, I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy for you. I do it every Sunday. Every single
And I'm at work watching the Ravens game, but I'm trying to act like I'm watching the Panthers game when I go on TV. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the script before the game starts. Sam Darnold threw 3 picks. So it's like
2 quick points. Shout out to Steve Wilkes, App State product, coming back.
Yes.
He can be our 2015 Thieves Avenue from he was the DB coach that year. He's the DB coach this year. I think our secondary can be great with him as coach.
With head coaching experience now.
And number 2, Christian McCaffrey talked to Marshall Faulk this offseason, who we all know he did that. We don't know what exactly he talked about, but it's kind of evident he's not this swole guy that in training camp this year. He's not quite, his tree trunk legs are not quite tree trunk this year.
Yeah.
Marshall Faulk taught him.
He's not AJ Dillon.
That's what, and he did go on a little bit about what they talked about. They mainly talked about training because Marshall. You ever saw Marshall Faulk with his shirt off? It looked like he never lifted a weight in his life. Like, literally,
I mean, he had his best seasons of his career in his 6th, 7th, and 8th years. Or I shouldn't say that, not the best, but some of the best of his long career. And this is Mac's 6th season, I believe.
Yeah, he had an MVP season in there, Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowl appearances. I mean, Marshall Faulk
back-to-back Super Bowl appearances, or 2 in 3 years.
Marshall Faulk's one of my favorite running backs of all time, and that's probably why I gravitate to McCaffrey so much, because he reminds me so much of Marshall Faulk's game in terms of his shiftiness, excellent hands, receiving wise, his field vision, his speed. They're very similar, and a lot of people think McCaffrey's small. He's about the same size as Faulk. To me, the average running back's about 5'11", about 200 pounds, and if you go through the annals of NFL history, you're going to see most of the top backs were right there at that size, 5'11" or so, about 200, 210. Emmitt Smith.
Barry Sanders was what, 6 foot 6'1"?
No, Barry was one of them.
Barry might have been like 5'10".
Yeah, like 5'10", 5'11". Faulk was 5'11". Christian McCaffrey's 5'11". I just hear people all the time going, "Oh, McCaffrey can't run on the inside."
I mean, I'm 5'11".
Aaron Jones is what, 5'9", 5'10"?
Right there in that little pocket, about 5'9", 5'10", 5'11". You don't
5'8" for Barry Sanders. I just
5'8".
Okay, there you go.
Wow,
I gave him 2 inches.
Yeah,
I
thought he was a bit taller than that. You don't really see the Derrick Henrys that are like 6'4" or whatever running back or whatnot. Like that usually doesn't happen. I just find it funny. People think McCaffrey can't run in between the tackles. That's all he does. Like literally, that's the majority.
I'll tell you what. Terry Sanford
last night. Week 12.
Terry Sanford last night had a little thunder and lightning. They had a kid who was 6'2", 220, returning kickoffs, hurdled 2 Glen guys, ran through another 4, and then took the kickoff back 95 yards.
Yeah, the beginning of the second half, he turned it on, and that turned that game around.
Good luck 3A East trying to tackle that guy, because it took, every time he touched the football, it took 4, 5, 6 blue shirts and orange helmets to get that kid to the ground.
Real quick before, because I know I got to let Brett go, I wanted to get to this before I had to, because I wanted to touch on high school football. And if you got to drop off in the middle of this, Brett, that's fine. But I wanted to get it while I had Rod on here too. I'm going to kind of push the break a little bit forward, and we'll get to high school football now, and then we'll get back to NFL stuff here. But I'm seeing a lot of teams where fans were hyping them heavy in the summer outside of the triad. Those teams lost over the past couple of days. Shelby comes to mind. Mallard Creek lost. Who else
Did
lost?
Huff lose?
Yeah, Huff lost.
Yep.
Fork, which is like one of the top teams in South Carolina. Richmond County, their fan base is very they got stomped by Mount Tabor, which came out of nowhere because I thought Tabor was rebuilding. And I did that game last year when they were here. It was Tabor.
Coach Brown said we don't rebuild, we just reload.
See, and I believe him. I didn't think it was going to take long for Tabor to catch up to the top of the CPC, and he might have a little something going on over there on Petrie. But again, in the triad, from all the scores that I was seeing and everything else going on, it looked like everyone was just going through week one kind of, I don't call them jitters, but we, in our game in particular, mine and Rod's game, East Forsyth, they won 49-35 or 38, excuse me. but they let that team get back into the game in the second half. And I was thinking back on it, Rod. I think a lot of it was just because they were cramping. All the defensive players, their key defensive players, started cramping, and it allowed Northwest Guilford to get a couple of touchdowns late in that game and make it closer than it probably should have been.
Yeah, that had a little bit to do with it, Des, but I think the East Forsyth defense has quite a bit of work to do, especially up front on the defensive line. They weren't really holding their lanes and their gap read responsibilities. You got to trust the guy who's playing beside you. You got a guy playing beside you. You got to trust that he's going to handle his gap responsibility, and you don't go into his gap and you handle your business that way. I saw a lot of East, two guys in the same gap on defense, creating just a natural seam for running backs to get through, toward the end of the game, as well as the beginning. Actually, it was the beginning of both quarters, the first quarter and the third quarter. The running game was just rolling for Northwest Guilford, Des, and they were, really making hay against the Eagle defense. So I think there's just some work to do with the Eagle defense up that line. I think the linebacking core is going to be fine. And I also think these guys have to hydrate correctly during the week to kind of cut these cramps out. You got to hydrate, get your potassium in, and don't do any stupid stuff like drink sodas, smoke any weed and all that stuff. Stay off the weed. You know what I'm saying? You can't do stupid stuff like that, man.
Somebody was smoking like right below us in the press box. We could not figure it out.
And the police came through the press box. I asked the police, was it him? Because
I didn't want to say anything on air, because the way East press box is, you can take all the windows out. It's one long room. So we were sitting there, and I kept catching a whiff of it, and I'm like, I know somebody ain't sitting here in the stands doing this, because they had like 3 policemen walking around. And then you were right, the cop came up behind us, and I heard y'all talking, and he was, what was he saying? He was like, somebody, I just can't find it.
He was like, are y'all smelling something? I said, yeah, dude, I've been smelling marijuana the whole game right here. He was like, yeah, you're not the only one. He said, I'm trying to find it, and I can't find it anywhere. And he bent over and tried to, kind of lean out and smell where I was, and he looked down. And then I asked him, I said, well, you kind of close when I was smelling. I said, is it you? Or you out there officer smoking, trying to pretend like it's somebody else? I was just messing with him. And he was like, we're going to find him. We're going to find him. And
the funny thing is, I think whoever it was that had it heard our conversation, because the press box windows were open. Because
they bolted. They ran.
Yeah. And the smell went away.
It went away
immediately. It's just gone.
It went away. Almost like they were sitting like right under the window. It was nuts. So that was going on. Now, meanwhile, across town, Glenn and Terry Sanford. Brett, what were your thoughts on Glenn week 1? I know it was week 1. You're hosting Deepwater every Wednesday night with Coach Stevenson. After seeing that game, what kind of mood do you think Coach is going to be in when he shows up on Wednesday night?
He's not going to be in a very good mood. There were a lot of not Glenn-like mistakes that were made last night. A lot of pre-snap penalties, a lot of arm tackling, a lot of coverage mistakes on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of miscues. But the one thing that stuck out to me was they got to find some consistency at quarterback. They got to find a starter between Tyson Worthy and McClure that transferred over from R.J. Reynolds. I think McClure's the guy because I saw stylistically Worthy was only used on rollout, short passes, screens, things like that. But the Glenn offensive line that Coach Stevenson touted on Deepwater as one of the position groups he was most confident in going into the season got wrecked by the Terry Sanford defensive line. Tyson Worthy, as soon as he rolled out of the pocket, had 2 or 3 white shirts in front of him. McClure barely had enough time to get a throw off, and it seemed like stylistically McClure's the guy they want to take shots down the field because he obviously has the stronger arm, but he had to kill some time and create a lot of plays outside of the pocket, an ability that Tyson Worthy simply does not have because he, A, doesn't have the body, B, doesn't have the arm strength to get off even a throwaway hardly enough. Tyson Worthy simply doesn't have the arm strength that McClure does, nor does he have the maneuverability to get outside the pocket, especially when he's being rolled out to try and, I guess teach him to have that out of pocket presence. It's just not there. The Glenn defense, they got a lot of work to do. In the secondary, they got burned. There were a lot of coverage mistakes. They got physically manhandled in the second half after doing a really good job of stopping the run in the first half. Terry Sanford made some adjustments, and that offensive line and Simmons in the backfield just absolutely bowled Glenn over right from that opening kickoff of the second half that was taken back for a touchdown. So
Wait, smaller? It sounds like they're smaller or something. Glenn,
it's not that Glenn is smaller necessarily. They were just physically overpowered. I think in a way they may have underestimated the physicality of Terry Stanford, because Terry Stanford, and I made this point to JP on the broadcast, Terry Stanford came out of the tunnel and I was like, they maybe only have 4 or 5 guys that are over 6 feet tall. But everyone in a white shirt found a body and found somebody to block. It got chippy in the second half because Glenn was frustrated with how physically overpowered they were getting. They were frustrated because they were unable to move the ball. There were times Glenn's 2 of their first 3 possessions started at or near midfield. They had to punt on 2 of those 3 possessions. The third one, they scored a touchdown. So they've got to find consistency, not just at the quarterback position, but they've got to find consistency as far as their possessions go. They didn't turn the ball over, but there was a lot of drop back and punt. And on the defensive side of the ball, they've got to find a way to get these coverage mistakes fixed, because A.J. Coverdale and Tyree Burke play in 2 ways. They're going to have to figure out a way to manage those guys too.
They better figure it out quick too, because they've got number 1 ranked Julius Chambers coming up here to play. Not next week, but not next week, but the following week. Week 3.
Lucky Dalen Smothers gone.
Yeah.
I mean, Chambers plays Cardinal Gibbons tonight, week 1, in a rematch of the 4A final, and I'm actually sitting here contemplating an NFHS subscription and actually trying to watch that game, because that could be a good one. And
that could be
where there are pockets of fan bases in the state that are louder than most. I've known Reedsville, Shelby, Dudley, Chambers, Richmond County. I rep it for East up here. I'm in a Facebook group for high school football talk where we talk smack to each other all day, every day. And I'm the one that's like waving the 336 flag. Like, we got something to say. Because the Charlotte schools, they're all like, oh, you guys ain't nothing. You've never won anything. And I'm like, we've brought home a state title in some classification every year for like the past 6 or 7 years. The 4A title for 3 years straight was here. You know, East won it twice, then Grimsley won it that third year. And they beat Cardinal Gibbons, which just beat you. They just beat you in the final last year. So Cardinal Gibbons has been in the East representative in the 4A final 3 years in a row. And they finally broke through last year in an ugly final game. I remember it was raining. Chambers couldn't run the football for some reason in the rain. And it was a low-scoring affair, and Cardinal Gibbons won that game. But, Dalen Smothers no longer at Chambers. Actually, he's not anywhere. He transferred to West Charlotte, and they're on some sort of issues too, which was something else I was going to bring up. The Charlotte schools that are complaining or whatever, they look at Forsyth County. I think there's some sort of envy with Forsyth because of the way the transfer stuff is up here, and the way you can kind of basically go to whatever school you want. So you have schools that are specialized in Forsyth County, like, East is good. Well, East has been good in a lot of different sports the past couple of years, not just football. Reynolds is good in basketball. Glenn has been good in basketball. West has been good in baseball, stuff like that. So kids start going to certain schools because there's certain programs perform better than other schools in the area. And you can't do that in Charlotte. You can't really do it in Guilford. You can't do it in other places. So I say all that because I feel like Forsyth is going to win multiple titles this year. Like I know East had some issues last night, but I mentioned it to Rod on the broadcast. Jalen Rayner, he looked like Vince Young. He looked like 2005 Vince Young last night. Like, literally. He was even doing, how Vince Young would run down, like, he start running. He'd do that, like, pump fake thing that would kind of freeze the defense, and he'd pick up 15 yards. He was doing carbon copy exactly like that. He he was running the same way, kind of that upright, kind of looking around, always looking downfield.
Broad shoulders,
and he was breaking tackles. Like, we remember Jaelen as a sophomore in the 2021 spring season, where he couldn't throw the football 30 yards down the field. Like, he literally could not physically. He was supposed to be the JV quarterback, and he just couldn't get it down the field. To last night, where he had maybe 3 or 4 runs where.
Well, he had I think 2 60-yard passes that he threw. Remember, we calculated how far he could throw that ball.
I heard there was some drop issues out there too. So
there was a few drops out there where they weren't on the same page. But the biggest issues that they were having were the penalties. You have to rein those penalties in, man, if you want to win ball games, especially in the CPC. So we'll see what happens. But
Rayner plays like he did last night.
You love them penalties, Rod.
And he was
Cowboys.
Punting. He was punting, man. He was punting last night. He was doing it all. Yeah.
He because Ty Lyles was doing that before him, which made the East offense more dangerous because you just didn't know it could be 4th and 20. I think they had that last night. It was like 4th and 24 or something, deep in their own territory, and they kind of give him the green light. If he sees an avenue, he does it rugby style, so he's already kind of trotting. He might just take off, and he did it like twice last night in situations where you're like, "There's no way they're going to fake this punt," and he would just do it and take off. 30 yards later, he converts to 4th and 24 or whatever, and he had a couple of runs where it was just like,
almost video game Tecmo.
Yeah, I was also about to say, kind of like he'd do like a spin or something in the middle of like 5 dudes, like you're seeing guys flying off of him like this, and like he's breaking tackles, and he'd get out in the flat, and as soon as he saw opening, you could see him like accelerating like faster than the rest of them. Like it felt like he was playing at a different speed than everybody last night. So I think he might be the Tobacco Road player of the week for this week, because I haven't heard of any other player that had a stat line like him in week 1 in the triad. I'll check around. I'll talk to Joe Serrera, see if he can nominate anybody. But if anybody has somebody to nominate, message and let me know. But I think Rayner's probably going to be the week 1 recipient of that. We'll be East Forsyth on the road to Rollsville. That's a huge game with statewide implications. We'll have that, the TOB game of the week next week. And JP and Coach Rez will be at Grimsley. Reagan taking on Grimsley. That's the WCOG game of the week next week. So another 2 monster games is what we do here. We bring you the hottest games in the triad. Don't sleep on Reagan. I think Reagan might have something to say in the CPC before all this is said and done.
Especially building off of last year, man.
Yeah, they got some kids. They gave Grimsley a
that was a gutsy win they had Thursday night. Tied 24-24 late. Get that late touchdown and stop. Get that stop on that very good North Davidson offense. That was a big statement win for Josh McGee's group right out of the gate.
So we'll keep an eye on them. And they got their first win over East Forsyth last year ever as a program. That was East only lost in the regular season. So that actually made them go on the road basically in the playoffs and have to keep going to Charlotte multiple weeks because of that loss to Reagan. So there's a lot of stuff in play here. I'm curious about Glenn, though, as we're about to take another break. I'm curious about Glenn because they lost a lot. When Coach Stevenson said they lost a lot of seniors.
They lost 21 seniors.
Wow.
It had an impact last night.
Because it felt like at times Albert Red, there was 3 of them out there last year.
Yep.
Felt like, and we were wondering last year what it was going to look like without him, because he was the one covering sideline to sideline, really, and like he's the one that won that Myers Park playoff game. Like he was the defensive player of the year in the league or the conference, and he's at NC Central now, I believe. So
correct.
And before we get out of here, real quick, I want to show some love to Jonathan Paylor from Cummins. This kid here, he might be the most impressive athlete I've seen play high school football in the state of North Carolina since I've been here. With my own eyes. It's unbelievable. 5'9", 170. He's listed as, I think he's closer to 180 now. Got a great build, great arms, wide receiver, running back, whatever you need to do. He punts. Jonathan Paylor, I mean, he was untouchable. Okay. Now, he's not going to be his stats not going to be able to line up with Mr. Rayner. But just the kid can ball. I mean, he had an 88-yard touchdown, kickoff return. Had one play, he ran about 50 yards. It was a 6-yard loss, turned it into a 12, 15-yard gain. Like, I mean,
those kids are really good at
strong hands. Like, he catch the ball, and it's like he snatched the ball out the air. You hand it to him, he going to get you 3-4 yards easy. I just looked him up at 24/7 Sports. I mean, he's got 23 offers. Bama, Clemson, NC State, North Carolina. I mean, he's not playing. Jonathan Paylor.
Okay.
UM Cummins.
They're a little out of my target.
I know that's the other side of the other side.
Yeah, I don't get that far. I don't get the Alamance. Not yet. And, maybe we can work on something to get out that way.
I tell you, that boy right there, he plays some football.
Okay. All right. So I got the name on here. I'm going to talk to Joe about him because I'm sure Joe Serrera is covering 80 million high schools.
And so himself, the whole game, right? The Coach Stokes from Williams, because I was on the Williams sideline. Everybody would say, okay, we're going to, they had a scheme to kick the ball away from him, right? So in the middle of the third quarter, they've been kicking the ball away from him the whole game. And they kick the ball and the crowd sees he's getting underneath it. And before he catches the ball, I'm shooting the game and the whole crowd goes, oh. And he caught that ball and literally it was like no noise. He went straight up the sideline. It was gone because everybody already knew what time it was. Because, of course, they know his name. So I mean, he went out there and I said, "This kid here,
That's
I
kind of
like
like
him."
that's kind of like
No
Quayshawn
moves
Brown.
either, just straight line speed up the sideline.
Yeah, we
Tiny.
saw. That's kind of like Quayshawn Brown over at East, where like
Yeah.
if they kick it to him, because now it's at the point where they don't kick it to him as much. But if they kick it to him on the kickoff return, it's like one of those. You're just anticipating it. Who's the dude? We got to get to break, but real quick, Rod, your '92 state championship team. Was it Marquise Scales?
Marquise Bam Scales.
Yeah, it got to a point on their team where you had to get to the games early. They got to a point in their season where, and they finished nationally, right? They finished 15th nationally, the USA Today poll, and won the state championship in 4A. But they got to a point, Bam Scales got to a point where if you didn't get there early, you were going to miss the opening kickoff touchdown because he was going to run it back. Like it got to a point where a couple of games in a row, like it was around school, like we got to get there like 6:30, like make sure we got our seats. So we're here instead of walking in and everybody's already cheering and going, we're like, what happened? Bam just ran back another kickoff return. Like it literally, it felt like every week you had to be there for that. And I think he went off against Carver or somebody. Like y'all scored like 1 billion points. I think y'all are still scoring.
Yeah, I think we scored 57 against Carver.
Yeah, so Carver's still mad about that. I'm not gonna bring that up anymore though. I gotta get a commercial. I know I gotta get some people out of here. Ryan is sticking around. We're going to do the AFC South. I think, Jaelen, are you able to stick around to the AFC South real quick? And then we'll hit the Sam Washington interview. I think Brett's got to get out. I think Rod's got to get out. But we'll be back in just a bit. You're listening to the rundown here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com and WWBG 1470 AM.
You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Franchise players.
Welcome back. Sports Channel 8's Ben Swain. How you doing, man?
I love that you guys are doing what you're doing. I love that we're doing what we're doing because the local sports fan is really underserved in sports radio here in North Carolina.
And welcome back into the rundown here on
being able to listen to local guys talk about the local game.
Franchise players every Friday afternoon at 5 p.m. on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com and at 6 p.m. on WCOG 1320 AM and WTOB 988.
Beamer Tire and Auto Repair, now with 3 locations across the Triad in High Point, Greensboro, and our new location in Kernersville. Beamer Tire and Auto offers full-service auto repair, all tire brands, free alignment checks, oil changes, and more. In Kernersville, check out the no appointment needed Quick Lube shop. Check out their thousands of 5-star ratings via Google and Yelp. They care because they know that you can go anywhere. So try a shop with a beating heart, not a bottom line. Beamer Tire and Auto Repair. Visit us on Facebook or at beamertire.com.
Sedgefield Lawn and Landscape Supply is your one-stop shop for your lawn. Family-owned, serving customers residential or commercial. Check out our large selection of mulch, pine needles, sand, gravel, grass seed, fertilizer, herbicides. They even do propane fill-ups. And if you're looking for lawn care equipment, you won't find a better spot in the Triad than Sedgefield Outdoor Equipment. Visit them today, 5111 Mackey Road in Jamestown, North Carolina. Give them a call at 336-292-6800 and follow them on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, y'all, Chinese Mobile Auto. Is your car broke down? Are you stuck somewhere? Do you need a mechanic? You don't want to call a tow truck? Call Chinese Mobile Auto. He'll come out to you, do your work, whatever you need done, your regular maintenance, or if you're broke down on the side of the road, give him a call. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call 336-423-6241. You don't even have to see me. Just let me know what's wrong with your car, and I will come and fix it, y'all. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, I'm on the Twitters, whatever you guys need, 336-423-6241. As always, I'll be seeing you.
York Home Inspections provides a vast array of home inspection services right here in the heart of the Triad. Exterior, insulation, ventilation, structural, appliances, roofing, radon testing, pest inspections, electrical, plus HVAC, new construction inspections, annual maintenance, and more. Owner John Taylor York has been in business since 2012 and treats each inspection as if it's his own home. Schedule your appointment online with John at YorkHomeInspection94.com or call 336-442-8315. York Home Inspections. Quality home inspections.
It's game time. Brother Cluckers has you covered. Check out the Clucking Football Feeding Frenzy for $5 deal. 25 fried chicken tenders, 2 jumbo sides, and 1 gallon of sweet or unsweetened tea for only $39.99. Special only valid via online ordering. Just visit brother-cluckers.com to place your order and enjoy the games. Brother Cluckers, located in front of the Food Line Shopping Center at 1547 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Brother Cluckers.
Back to the rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Welcome back into the rundown here on WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Desmond Johnson, Ryan Smith, Jaelen Gilkey in the house here with you for hour number 2. Real quick, AFC South divisional preview, and then we'll get to our exclusive interview with North Carolina A&T Aggie football head coach Sam Washington. We got a chance to chop it up with Sam and preview the Big South season going forward here for the Aggies before they move up to the CAA next year. I believe all the other sports have moved to CAA except for football. They'll move over from the Big South after the season is done. AFC South, guys, I'm just sitting there looking through it, and we kind of touched on it a little bit briefly earlier. It looks like it's probably the Colts to win. I guess my question should be, is there a team that can challenge the Colts for the AFC South? Looking for something like, can Jacksonville take that step now that they've moved on from the it's crazy that this time last year, Urban Meyer was the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And to see how far that went from this moment here.
This is right around the time when that whole fiasco happened at the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's just like this. We might be at exactly 365 days.
We may be because then it's like between that and oh my god, what all the stuff didn't he like kick a kicker in the leg or something?
Josh Lambo, yeah.
And then we just heard all the verbal abuse and just. I don't know where Urban Meyer is right now. I thought he was trying to go back to Fox.
They just announced that he came
so he
back.
Is going back.
He's going back. Big noon kickoff show at Fox. They just announced that.
Man, so we'll see what's up with that. AFC South. Is there a team in the AFC South you feel like that could maybe challenge the Colts, or is it just the Colts division to win here?
I'll go first. I would say, yes, I think the Colts are going to win this division pretty easily. In fact, they've got Matt Ryan, who I do not like as a former Falcons quarterback, but he's got a great O-line. He's got Jonathan Taylor. The receivers are a big question mark outside of Michael Pittman, but I think they have the most talent in the division because, let's be honest, Derrick Henry is like Christian McCaffrey in a way. He's been injury-prone sometimes. I think my bold prediction is the Titans are going to miss the playoffs this year. Ryan Tannehill is going to not be as good. He's on his way down. But to answer your question, I think Jacksonville can take that step up. They can go, like you said, they can't get any worse than they did with Urban Meyer last year. You really can't. They get back. James Robinson is going to be back. You've got a guy from Clemson, whose name I'm blanking on right now, who had a preseason injury. Their other running back, ETN. There we go.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk is not the flashiest name, but he's consistent. Did really well in Arizona. Evan Ingram, who has the dropsies, but when he can be consistent and stay on the field, can be healthy. I don't think they're going to win the division. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I do think the Jaguars can take that. I think they can finish second in this division if they have some pieces that kind of come together and gel in the right places. And then watch out for the Texans from a quarterback standpoint. I think they're going to finish last in this division, but I think Davis Mills can convince them, hey, I don't need to go draft Mr. Bryce Young or Mr. CJ Stroud. If Davis Mills, I think he was the second best quarterback as a rookie last year behind Mac Jones. I really do. I think he had the yards to back it up. He led the Texans to certain games last year that they were in games that you didn't think they would be in last year. And that was partly due to Davis Mills. And we just overlooked him because he came out of Stanford, had the COVID year. Like, we just kind of overlooked him. And I think he has this is a big year for him. He really, because if he balls out this year, CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, they may not grab them if if he has a big year, Davis Mills. So
Which
this is a big year for him.
Wild to think of. Yeah. And Deshaun Watson, whose suspension was extended to 11 games, his first game back will be at Houston, week 12. So karma
There's a
works.
reason the networks did that.
Yeah, exactly. Jaelen, your thoughts here. I kind of forgot. Tennessee is like the forgotten team to me because they've been the 1 seed in the AFC like 2 years running, right? But they just can't get over the hump. I don't know. We're not really looking at them to win this division, though. everyone's kind of pointing at Indy. Are you the same way? You're looking at Indy, or are you looking at somebody else?
I personally am. I'm thinking Indy's probably going to win this division as well, just because I feel like their defense is way more solid, way more talent filled than Tennessee. But I'm a super Derrick Henry fan. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And for you to say he's like Christian McCaffrey on the injuries, Ryan, I gonna have to disagree because, I mean, in his career, he's only missed 10 games, not 11 games, and 9 of those were last season.
Yeah.
So
let's
pump the brakes on that one a little bit. Yeah. I understand your point, though. Definitely, I do. But
I think they let Foreman go to the Panthers.
That's what I was about to say. That was a big loss.
Yeah,
because, that takes some of the pressure off of Derrick Henry having Deontay Foreman back there to be kind of that counterbalance. But I do think Indy is going to have the most solid offensive line play, the most solid quarterback play, and they got the best defense. So I think this is their division to win. Tennessee's schedule isn't really that tough. I mean, they snuck the Cowboys in there, so you never know what that's going to be, and that's going to be at the end of the season. So the Cowboys could be playing for nothing or everything.
Who's the receiver they lost? The Titans.
AJ Brown.
Where did
he went to the Eagles.
Okay.
He and Devontae Smith now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean, they snuck the Commanders in there, so they get the Commanders and the Giants.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a couple sneaky non-divisional wins that they'll probably go ahead and take from the NFC East, as well as who was this other team I was looking at right here?
Didn't they went 13 and
they were the number one seed. They were the number one seed in the AFC last year.
Yeah, they were the year before too. I want to say, like, I think the past 2 years they've been the one seed, but then they lost like first round or whatever in the playoffs, and like people just don't talk about them. And I'm trying to remember how they were winning these games. I know 2 years ago it was Derrick Henry running through people pretty much like the whole season.
Yeah, but they had a very opportunistic defense that created a lot of turnovers. They gave up a lot of yards, gave up a lot of points, but they did score points and create turnovers to put Tannehill and AJ Brown in positions to scream without Henry. And like we said, Deontay Foreman was, he kept things afloat without Derrick Henry being in the lineup. So it was like, yes, they took a step back with the rushing attack, of course, but it wasn't, like they had to shift their whole mindset or their whole strategy as an offense because, they had a very serviceable back. And I think that's something that Carolina will see as well. When Christian McCaffrey gets hurt and Deontay Foreman comes in, there won't be much of a drop off in production because he's physical. He run the ball hard. He can catch the ball a little bit, not nowhere near like CMC, but he's better. He's a better option than Chuba Hubbard, in my opinion, right now.
See, now the way you had to pump the brakes on Ryan about Derrick Henry, I got to pump the brakes on you with Christian McCaffrey because really, besides these past 2 seasons, the kid had never been hurt before. And he hadn't broken anything. Nothing's been torn. They were all like soft tissue, muscle type weird injuries that he'll be fine.
Soft tissue injuries are worse than breaks.
But he was
any athlete will tell you that.
He was
soft tissue injuries are worse than breaks because breaks you could put it in the cash. You got a timetable, when it heals. Soft tissue, you can rehab, feel good for 4 days, and then get out there and immediately tweak it again.
Well, soft tissue is better than tearing like an ACL or something to that effect. Like having a sore quad or whatever is different than having a torn MCL. Like, and especially in football.
Technically, an ACL is considered soft tissue. You know what I'm saying? Like bone breaks and fractures and stuff like that. Those are considered, like.
My point, he hasn't torn anything. Like he technically should be able to come back just the same way he was the last time we saw him out the box.
But that should be a cause for pause too, because if he hasn't torn anything, then why did you miss 10 games last year?
I think some of that too is because the Panthers held him out. Some of the end games there where
for anything.
Yeah, there was no reason to play him. So it makes it look worse than it is. That is something that's never addressed when the media says he's missed or he's only played 10 games in 2 years or whatever. Some of that's because at the end of both those years, he could have played. They just were out of playoff contention. So they just held him out like 2-3 games at the end of the year. And he didn't play, but it makes it look like he can't play, so I can't subscribe to that yet. Now, if something happens this year, then I don't have a choice. I gotta
3 years makes it a trend.
I mean, this is crazy.
2's a pattern, 3's a trend.
Right. I will say, just looking at the going back to the AFC South, looking at the schedule real quick for the Colts, I would agree with Jaelen that Tennessee's schedule is very manageable. The Colts, they just have to go out and do it. But listen to this from week 9 through week 16. You've got New England, Las Vegas, Philly, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Minnesota, Chargers. Like, that is a gauntlet of 7 games right there. So I think if the Colts can kind of win a stretch of those games, they can win this division. But if Carson Wentz is in Matt Ryan form this year, Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz form this year, then Tennessee's going to be right back where we started. I think that stretch is very key for them.
I think people are confused about New England in terms of what they might be.
They're gonna stink, bro.
I think they might too. It's weird to say it, but I don't know. It's like it's one of those years where it's like I just don't know how they can do this.
I think the Jets are better. I think the Dolphins are better. Not better teams per se, but they've gotten better.
Better rosters.
So I feel like they can split those games, and I mean they split with those two there. They only won 9 games last year.
Yeah.
So you split with those 2 games. Now you're down to 7.
Yeah, and they're not better than the Bills at all at this point. I don't know. They don't even have an official offensive coordinator.
Matter of fact, the Dolphins beat them twice last year anyway.
Yeah, I would say the Dolphins are better than the Patriots. I don't know about the Jets, but I would definitely say the Dolphins have a better roster than the Patriots. And we talked about it before. Belichick's this genius GM or whatever. I never really saw it in terms of like him drafting like that. He always drafted down and got more picks, but has he really?
They say he's a genius GM, just the way he works the waiver wire with free agents and being able to make something out of guys that no one really kind of
Every team has an Achilles heel, but for the Patriots, they haven't been able to draft wide receivers and for the save their life. And then you go. This isn't a Steelers show either right now, but you look. They just get George Pickens, and now look, he's going to be a star. And Steelers already. They dealt with Antonio Brown for 10 plus years, and now maybe not 10, but a long time. And now George Pickens might be that guy. Next guy.
I got a question, an AB based question.
Yo,
what is Roger Goodell going to do week 1 when every game of the season, at least one player does the little AB dance?
Oh no!
After their touchdown celebration.
Oh no! Please.
Oh, it's gonna be ridiculous because it happened every preseason game.
Oh no!
His little song, and his little dance is catching. What? Oh, and the wide receivers, they eating it up, bro.
Why?
They're eating it up because they love AB.
Why?
What do you mean why? They're trolling. They're trolling. And because most wide receivers are going to stand with AB. They're going to make it a point to rub it in Rodgers' face that, you said he can't. Not even Rodgers' face, the league's face as a whole. Yeah, y'all won't put him on a team, but he still has this undeniable influence. Even though his music ain't that great, it's just catchy. And now you can put the dance to it. Guess what?
At all. We got to take a break. I know Ryan's got to get out of here. I think Jalen's got to get out of here too. Coming up here in just a bit, exclusive interview. North Carolina A&T Aggie football head coach Sam Washington joined me to talk about the Aggies, about their season last year, and about, for the first time since 2019, having an actual regular off season and preseason, preparing for this upcoming season. We'll talk about that, some players to look out for, and his outlook for the season going forward as they prepare for their season opener, the Aggie Eagle Classic versus rival North Carolina Central at Bank of America Stadium on September the 3rd. It's going to be a party out there. I wish I could go. I'll be producing that game, so I can't go, but it's going to be fun. So we'll talk to Sam here in just a bit. You're listening to The Rundown, WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
We love sports.
Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived.
Not only do we love sports, but we love to debate sports.
He was bad in Captain Clay. He bad in Sugar Ray. He bad in that. Who that? The new boy. Mike Tyson look like a bulldog. He bad at him too. He done whipped Mike Tyson there. He whipped all their ass.
For the best sports analysis in the triad.
What about Rocky Marciano?
In-depth local coverage of your favorite schools and teams.
Let me tell you something once for all. Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
And of course, the best sports debate in the triad.
It's Joe Louis's ass.
Welcome to Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
You're welcome.
I don't know how old he was. They got
Hey, Pops, where you want to go eat tonight?
I'm going to go get me some good Southern cooking at Ball Brothers down by the airport in Winston.
No, Pops, it's Bell Brothers, and they closed years ago. It's Taste of the Triad now.
Taste of the Triad? Is it in the old Ball Brothers building?
Yup.
Can I still get baked chicken and collard greens?
Sure can.
How about neck bones, meatloaf, and pork chops?
Taste of the Triad has all that.
So they ain't got pinto beans, tater salad, mac and cheese, or fried okra?
Pops, they have all that, plus homemade cakes and cobblers and sweet potato pie.
Well, then I don't care what they call it. Let's go eat.
Taste of the Triad. Open daily for lunch with $5.99 specials from 11 to 2 and chef specials daily. Don't miss the Saturday brunch from 9 to 1 and the soulful Sunday dinner when you come out of church full of the word, but hungry for Southern comfort food. Taste of the Triad in the old Bell Brothers building at Old Walkertown Road and North Liberty in Winston-Salem.
That's good Southern cooking.
Mossy's Eats, Ales, and Spirits in Clemens is a unique family-friendly sports restaurant with an awesome bar and fresh menu that keeps guests coming back for more. Try the pizzas, buffalo bites, and wings, sandwiches, burgers that make your mouth water, made in-house, plus 23 taps and a variety of craft beers. Have a cocktail and relax at Mossy's. Plus, with 33 HD TVs and all the sports packages around, you can watch pretty much any game you can imagine at Mossy's. Plus, a year-round outdoor patio, fun atmosphere, great food. What more can you ask for? Mossy's Eats, Ale, and Spirits, 6235 Town Center Drive in Clemens. Visit our website at mossy'sclemens.com.
Hey, y'all, Tiny's Mobile Auto. Is your car broke down? Are you stuck somewhere? Do you need a mechanic? You don't want to call a tow truck? Call Tiny's Mobile Auto. He'll come out to you, do your work, whatever you need done, your regular maintenance, or if you're broke down on the side of the road, give him a call. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call 336-423-6241. You don't even have to see me. Just let me know what's wrong with your car, and I will come and fix it, y'all. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, I'm on the Twitters, whatever you guys need, 336-423-6241. As always, I'll be seeing you.
Welcome to J. Pepper's Southern Grill, locally owned and operated, serving the Kernersville community for over 10 years. Delicious homemade Southern food with a menu with a little something for everyone. With daily lunch and dinner specials, you can't go wrong choosing J. Pepper's, home of The Nest with East Forsyth head coach Todd Willard, every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. live during the season. Plus Wine Wednesday with half-price wine all day and live music every Thursday night. Come join the fun at J. Pepper's Southern Grill, 841 Old Winston Road in Kernersville. Call in your order now at 336-497-4727.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Kuhn-Godfrey.
Hi, I'm Deanna Kaplan.
Hi, I am Richard Watts.
The common sense choice for Winston-Salem Forsyth County School Board.
It would be our honor to serve you.
Make your voice heard by voting for Deanna,
Richard,
Sabrina,
and Common Sense. We need your support.
Early voting starts October 20th, paid for by Sabrina Kuhn-Godfrey for BOE, Deanna Kaplan for School Board, Richard Watts, at-large School Board.
Welcome to the Triad's best kept secret, Tucker's Grill, located on the corner of Highway 66 and High Point Road at 4110 North Main Street in High Point. Open 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. Voted some of the best burgers in the Triad, Tucker's Grill also offers breakfast plates, breakfast sandwiches, hot dogs, lunch sandwiches, and homemade soup during the winter months. Visit Tucker's Grill for lunch today, 4110 North Main Street in High Point. Find your next car at Auto Store of North Carolina in Walkertown. Their goal is to make car shopping and car buying experience fast, friendly, and easy. They have helped hundreds of customers get behind the wheel of a newer, reliable, quality used car, and they could help you too. Stop by and speak with one of their sales professionals today and drive away with your new car. The Auto Store of North Carolina, 4964 Reedsville Road in Walkertown. Give them a call at 336-595-8550 and view the current inventory of vehicles at autostoreofnc.com.
Back to the rundown with Desmond Johnson.
TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com and WWBG 1470 AM. Shout out to everybody that's checking us out this Saturday morning on Facebook Watch, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter at Tobacco Radio. If you have a comment, question, hot take, you can respond there live. Myself and the panel, we will get to it and answer your questions on air. But before we get back to the panel, I wanted to talk to North Carolina A&T head coach Sam Washington, entering his 5th season atop of Aggie Nation. Coach, what's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this show.
So I'm just gonna start off with the big thing that everyone's talking about, the September 3rd season kickoff on Tobacco Road Sports Radio versus your rival North Carolina Central, the Aggie Eagle Classic this year, bigger than ever at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. It's a 7:30 p.m. kickoff on September 3rd. Coach, how big is it to start the entire season in a huge rivalry game at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte?
We're very excited, to have this game in Charlotte, playing in the Panthers Stadium. It's just a great venue for the kids to participate in. And, what a way to start the season.
Yeah, this is huge. That opening weekend in the state of North Carolina, your game has been kind of pegged as one of the 3 big games to watch in North Carolina, along with App State versus UNC and ECU versus NC State. So to have the Aggie Eagle Classic included as one of those top 3 games in the entire state of North Carolina opening weekend is huge for Aggie Nation. Now, Coach Washington, at the beginning of August, you had a healthy quarterback competition. About 4 kids, actually. Jaelen Fowler started 9 games last season. Zach Yeager saw some action last year as well. Newcomers Eli Brickhandler and Austin Hooker, a name that many Aggie fans, last name, may recognize being from this area. A junior and 3 freshmen, a couple of redshirt freshmen, actually. Are you closer to naming a starter for September 3rd? And if not, who do you think has taken the lead so far?
Well, to be honest, I'm not. The competition have been very stiff. Jaelen has the experience and the knowledge of the playbook itself, and that's what make him very valuable. And I would say the other 3 kids are a lot more athletic than Jaelen. And it's been a very close race. And don't be surprised if you see a 2-quarterback system.
We saw a little bit of that midway through last season, through the end of the season. We saw a little bit of the 2-headed monster type system with the Aggie offense. Now, with us on the line right now, head coach Sam Washington from the North Carolina A&T Aggies. Coach Washington, for the 6th time in 7 years, the Aggies are the preseason pick to win their conference. What are some of the things the Aggies need to improve on from last season to have a chance to actually finish atop the Big South this year?
Well, pretty much everything. Last year was a dismal season for us. We just did not play well for many reasons. I often say no excuses, no regrets. So we had too many excuses last year, and we had too many regrets. So this year we're a much healthier team. I think we're a closer knit team, and hopefully you'll see a well-disciplined team. And I think those are going to be the changes.
If I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw you guys scheduled, 3 MEAC teams this year as well. Talk to me a little bit about the past 2 years. There's been a lot of movement with A&T in terms of conferences. You guys leaving the MEAC, your longtime home, for the Big South. And then, if I'm not mistaken, after this season, you'll be leaving the Big South football-wise to head over to the Colonial, which is an even bigger conference. Talk to me a little bit about how you've been able to guide this program from the MEAC to the Big South and then eventually to the CAA. Huge steps for, the largest HBCU in the nation.
Yeah, you're definitely correct about that. But we are excited about it. We had a good run in the MEAC, and, the powers that be felt it was time to move on or move forward. And, so this year we get the opportunity to compete in the Big South again, which we did not fare out well. We finished 3rd last year with a below average record. And, they did pick us this year to win it. Rightfully so. We feel that we have the necessary means, to win the conference. For the talent and coaches and the will. So, this year we're a much healthier team. And I think those are going to be the changes. If I'm not mistaken, after this season, you'll be leaving the MEAC, your longtime home, for the Big South. And then, if I'm not mistaken, after this season, you'll be leaving the Big South football-wise to head over to the Colonial, which is an even bigger conference. So we are excited about it. We are definitely correct about that. But we are excited about it. So very excited about this season. As far as moving to the Colonial next year, as I have told the guys, we'll deal with that when it comes. Our focus right now is on the Big South.
That's a great way to look at it, too, to keep everybody kind of in the moment for sure. Now, on the line with us, head coach of the North Carolina A&T Aggie football program, Sam Washington. One of the things that I know from being around the program a lot last year and being around you every week last year, Coach, is that Aggie football pretty much known for the run game under you since you've taken over, with this being your 5th season. You averaged 129.5 yards per game last season, but only 3.8 yards per carry, which I know had to be a sticking point of emphasis for you this season, just knowing you the way I do. Who do you look to lead to a rejuvenated Aggies rushing attack?
I think it starts up front. We got to be able to move people up front and create some running lanes. We do have some very capable running backs that Bayshore Tootin, he can carry it and he can go to load. And the new addition you would see is Charlie Dixon. He's a bigger back, 6'2", 6'3", weigh about 230. And he's a load, and he's a lot to deal with. And Wesley Graves is another name I would definitely get familiar with, because you'll see quite a bit of him as well. So we are definitely going to depend on being able to run the football. I think that set up the passing game. When you're able to run the football and make passing lanes a little more available.
Now, Coach, anybody that knows me, they know that I'm a huge football fan, but I'm a huge old school football fan. I'm a diehard believer in run the ball, stop the run. Like, if you can do that, it does not matter what era you are in. I don't care if it's the 60s, the 80s, the 90s, or next week. If you can run the football on a team and you can stop them from running the football, you can do a lot of things very well off of that for your offense. So having said that, switching over to the defensive side of the ball, I know they had some battles last season allowing 25 points per game, which I know was way too much for you. Who are you looking for on defense to take over leadership roles this season and get that Aggie blue wall back to where it normally is underneath your tenure?
Well, I think it's going to take a team effort, honestly. Everybody got to, right now we're saying one heartbeat. We got to learn to play together, learn to play as a unit rather than individuals. If you ask for that guy, Jacob Roberts would be, that guy. It's just incredible. This young man, the work that he put in during this whole season and the time he shared with other people has been, quite remarkable. And he's that born leader. People follow him, and hopefully that will give us a spark, and he will keep us, lined up properly and playing with a lot of energy.
Finally, one of the last football questions I have for you, Coach. This feels like the first regular off-season and camp and prep time since the 2019 season, really, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. How happy are you to not have to worry so much about, outside elements, things that are out of your control off the field that were affecting the team in terms of availability, being able to play games? You guys literally missed an entire season, which I think a lot of people have forgotten that you guys didn't play, the 2020 season, which affected the program last year, I believe. How happy are you not to have to worry about that and simply focus on football this year? Tell me the difference between your prep this year compared to your prep last year when we were still, in the grasp of COVID.
You're absolutely correct. This year have been more familiar than, a lot more familiar than what our norm is and what we normally would do in different times. And last year was just, up and down, not knowing from one week to the next who were going to be, able to play because of COVID, working out of parts. All those things was very difficult, and we did not do a very good job with that. And this year, it seems like we're back to our norm. And practice has been energized, have been very competitive, and I'm quite excited about this upcoming season.
there's something in the air. You know, I do a lot of stuff with high school football here in the Triad, as well as stuff with North Carolina A&T's football and basketball programs. And it just feels different going into this school year. Like, I haven't really felt like this since 2019, where you're not so worried about wearing masks and tests and you know, who's available, who's not available. All these things that were there that were just disruptive every single week. And I can only imagine how yourself and these other coaches were able to even deal with that, on top of getting your team prepared for an actual football game every weekend. It does feel like everyone's settled back into, you know, every coach, every team has their own routines, the way they do certain things that got disrupted. And it feels like everyone's kind of getting back to that. And everyone feels it's like putting on a pair of old slippers. Like, it just feels good to finally get back to basics and back to football. I ask this to every coach whenever I have them on, because I'm curious, and I'm adding it to a list of places or things I want to try out. After a long game, Coach Washington, let's say you guys just went and won the Aggie Eagle Classic down in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite meal to eat? What's your favorite victory meal? Like, what do you like to get after a hard-fought Aggies win?
A ribeye steak, medium.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, we going
Maybe
big.
potato and a Caesar salad.
See,
Yeah,
I'm used to the
my
players,
top
and the players and the kids will be like Bojangles or something like that. You didn't even get the ribeye.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that ribeye.
Now,
A lot of fat content.
is that a homemade ribeye, or are you getting it from a particular spot?
Well, I don't mind cooking it myself on the grill or on the stove. I really don't. But if I had a choice, I think I would do it myself.
Yeah, I'm getting that way too. I'll tell you a secret though, Coach. I found out this year: stick that bad boy in an air fryer. Like, it's a game changer. Like, it cooks it from the inside out, so it'll have that seasoned crust you want on the outside, but it keeps it medium on the inside. You ain't got to stand over it. Like, I cook literally everything in my air fryer now after I did that once with a New York strip, and it just completely changed my outlook on air fryers and steaks and food in general. So that's my tip for the season to you, Coach Washington. Get an air fryer.
And I heard you very clearly, and I will try it very soon.
Make sure you cake it up with seasoning on both sides, and throw it in the air fryer for about 5-6 minutes on both sides, and you're good to go. So the North Carolina A&T Coaches Show will be back this season. I believe we'll have one before September 3rd, so it should be that week. It'll air on Thursdays on WSJS's sister station, WKEW, as well as TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Check your local listings, and at Tobacco Radio. Go follow Tobacco Radio on Twitter at Tobacco Radio for the times and listings for everything A&T sports related. The Aggies versus the Eagles live from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, Saturday, September the 3rd at 7:30 p.m. Pregame at 7 p.m. with the voice of the Aggies, Donald Ware. Coach Washington, I appreciate you coming on with us. I always look forward to this time of the year when I get a chance to speak to you, because then that tells me that football is literally right around the corner. And we're about to have a whole lot of fun. I just really appreciate you coming on the rundown today. And I'll be seeing you here soon.
All right. Absolutely. My pleasure. And look forward to seeing you as well.
Coming up, more from the rundown here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com and WWBG 1470 AM.
You're listening to The Rundown with Desmond Johnson.
Beamer Tire and Auto Repair, now with 3 locations across the Triad in High Point, Greensboro, and our new location in Kernersville. Beamer Tire and Auto offers full-service auto repair, all tire brands, free alignment checks, oil changes, and more. In Kernersville, check out the no appointment needed Quick Lube shop. Check out their thousands of 5-star ratings via Google and Yelp. They care because they know that you can go anywhere. So try a shop with a beating heart, not a bottom line. Beamer Tire and Auto Repair. Visit us on Facebook or at beamertire.com.
This is Davis Troxler, the proud owner of North Carolina Golf Academy and the Director of Instruction. Don't let your golf game suffer from this dreary winter season. Come hit some golf balls, take a lesson. You can call us at 336-324-2374 for details. Thank you, and keep it in the fairway.
Michael Davis. I am your host, and joined alongside with me today, we have Jackson Cordray, we have Austin Summers, and we have Matt Woody. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA. We're going to be talking about fantasy football. Of course, we're going to be talking about professional wrestling. And of course, this is out of pocket. And I believe that none of my takes are truly out of pocket. But a lot of people don't feel the same way. And how better can we start this show by talking about LeBron James signing a 2-year, $97 million extension with the Lakers, making him having the highest earning player in guaranteed money in NBA history. Okay. Now everybody is talking about LeBron James as the GOAT. We're not going to get into too much ESPN here, but to my personal opinion, this is not an out-of-pocket take. Okay, LeBron can't be the best basketball player in the world if he's not even the best basketball player born in Akron, Ohio. Okay, the number one player, when I believe it is all said and done, will be Steph Curry. That's right. Not only has Steph Curry been born in Akron, Ohio, and taken over LeBron's hometown, but Curry just obtained his 4th ring, tying LeBron this past year. And the way I'm seeing it now is LeBron is on the trajectory down, right as Curry is on the